Origin is going to bring a whole bunch of new decks into the format, and make the game a whole lot more interesting with the Lost Zone returning to the game. Today we're going to look at each and every deck that could possibly be meta in the Lost Origin metagame. Let's get started. So, first up, we have Inteleon, double Inteleon with Inteleon VMAX. I personally don't see Inteleon really getting anywhere. Inteleon VMAX can only do, I believe, 170 damage maximum with a choice belt, so I just don't see it doing enough to really get momentum. And also constantly having to heal, you can get starved out of your resources, and if you still have to 2-hit KO V-Stars, you're only taking 2 prize cards, so I would recommend not playing it, but it still can be a fun deck to play. Next up we have Cramorant Lost Zone box. This is no attack Cramorant for 110. I also don't think this is really going to be a good deck, just because it's not really doing enough damage anywhere on the board. Yeah, personally, I don't really care for this Cramorant. It's just not exactly something I would consider powerful, but if someone makes it work, then please let me know, because I'm always interested in cool or wacky ideas. Next up, we have Goodra V-Star, Infinite Tank, basically. I think that's definitely going to be B tier. Giratina can just one-hit KO your Goodra with its V-Star power. Pokia doesn't really, I guess the Pokia matchup is super favorable, but ARCUS Duraludon can hit through Goodra. There's a lot that can go wrong with it, so I definitely put it in A or B, but because of the Pokia matchup and how common Pokia is, I would definitely put Goodra and smack it in the A tier spot. Next up, we have Turbo Giratina. I definitely think this is going to be an S tier deck, as we've covered this on the channel before, so if you want to go see Turbo Giratina, then check out my channel. There should be another video for it. Next up, we have Lunatone Zoroark. I think Lunatone Zoroark is going to get better as we get more V-Stars, because Lunatone can one-hit KO them easier. It's a super annoying deck to have to go up against, so I definitely think that Lunatone Zoroark has a chance all the way up until rotation. Then, after we lose Scoop Up Net or Quick Ball, that sort of stuff, I really think that that deck's going to die off. Next up, we have Deoxys Speed Form, Shadow Rider. I don't really think that this deck's going to do very good. None of the Deoxys cards are really that great, so I wouldn't say that Deoxys is something that you should be playing. Mew VMAX Genesect, I still think it's going to be an S tier deck, because with more VMAXs comes more, or with more V-Stars comes more easy knockouts with Mew VMAX, but it certainly could go either way depending on the matchup, so I would say Mew is still an S tier deck. But it's definitely on the table for being an A tier deck rather than an S tier deck. Next up we have Mewtwo V Union Miltank Stall. I'm going to have to go with this one being in the B tier. The reason why is because Giratina V-Star almost auto wins against Mewtwo, because Giratina can one-hit KO a Mewtwo with a choice belt if it uses Lost Impact, and it can use its V-Star power. Miltank, you can just use Giratina V to shred through it. Mew VMAX also can just power through Miltank with Max Miracle, and if you get enough damage modifiers, you can knock out a Mewtwo no problem. So I really think that it's not going to be as good, especially with decks like Dialga getting more popular. Yeah, so I don't really see Mewtwo having a good chance in the upcoming format here. Mewtwo V Union, or V-Star, excuse me, with Shadow Rider Calyrex, I would put this in A tier. I personally am a big fan of Shadow Rider Calyrex, as you might know. Mewtwo V Union, I feel, is not exactly something I would put in my Shadow Rider deck, since I play Turbo Shadow Rider, but I definitely know how useful it can be to Shadow Rider as a good addition, and its V-Star power is amazing and very overpowered, so if you want to play Mewtwo V Union, or Mewtwo V-Star, excuse me, Shadow Rider Calyrex, I would say that is still an A-tier deck. Next up we have Ice Rider Pokia. I would probably put that in B tier, because you're either attacking with Ice Rider or you're attacking with Pokia. Like, you have to pick or choose. I quite honestly would just play the decks separately. There's no point in playing both of them in the same deck if you're going to have to prioritize one over the other. So I think it's a B tier deck just because you might Path to the Peak yourself. I've seen this a couple times where people will place down Path to the Peak and then they can't use their V-Star power and then they just basically lose the game. So I don't think that these decks really synergize as well as people think. So that's my personal thoughts. I would not be playing that deck. Palkia Inteleon, I think, is still going to be a really good deck, but with Giratina and with more of these like stall-y sort of decks, Palkia is going to get worse. So I definitely think Palkia is behind Giratina, but it is ahead of Mew because it can rack up a whole bunch of damage on Mew. So, unfortunately, I'm not a fan of Palkia, so I'd have to say Palkia is better than Mew, which is not really something I want to say, but it's just the honest truth. Palkia, Kirim, this could be a potentially good deck. Kirim is really good, so I might actually put that right here, but this could be either or, really, so I might just go ahead and do this, because we already know that Shadow Rider is starting to come back with Mewtwo V-Star, and we don't exactly know how Kirim's going to turn out, if it's going to turn up to be like another Rayquaza VMAX sort of situation. So I would definitely say it is an A-tier deck, but it might need some testing, so it could be A or B. Dugong, I don't exactly remember what this deck does, so I don't really know what it does, so I'm going to put it in D tier, just because I'm not exactly sure what it does. We could look it up, but I don't really see, anytime we've had kind of these, like, control single prize decks, they haven't worked in the past. When we had Floatzel, nobody could make that work. We have Ambipomp now, with the Infinite Heal, or the Infinite Stall, but that's not really doing much to impact the format, so I would put in D tier. Ice Rider Inteleon, I would probably put the end of A tier. It's not doing enough damage on VMAXs, even with, like, Choice Belt, Meridian, Hawlucha. Like, Shadow Rider VMAX can survive that. I just don't see Ice Rider being that consistent of a deck to be higher than what it is, but it's still a good deck. Yeah, Kirim VMAX, okay, this is probably where Kirim VMAX might be. I would say Kirim VMAX itself is better than Palkia Kirim, because you can just prioritize Kirim instead of prioritizing Palkia. That's the thing with, like, joint decks, is that you usually are going to prioritize one over the other. So that might be a little bit of an issue with consistency, or really trying to do anything, is that you're choosing one over the other, and that can be bad in some situations. Arceus Duraludon. My friend HGS7 plays Arceus Duraludon. I know how annoying it can be. I would definitely say it's an S tier deck, but with Giratina V-Star being able to just one-hit KO Duraludons and that sort of stuff, Shadow Rider can get through Duraludon and knock it out really easily. I mean, I think it is an S tier deck. I would maybe put it in front of Mew. Mew can hit through it. As much as I hate to do it, I would say Arceus Duraludon has a better potential than Mew, but then Mew's consistency could arguably be better. So I would definitely say either or. These two are kind of one and the same in how they do, so I would put them kind of in the same little bit here. So if there was like a joint space I could put them in, I would definitely do that. Arceus and Teleon, I think Arceus and Teleon is still a really good deck, but with all these new sorts of decks that can one-hit KO Arceus, which is not what it's trying to do, I would say Arceus and Teleon probably gets worse. Maybe would go about here, I would say. But once again, Giratina is kind of proving itself to be the best deck here just because of all these different other metagame types. Regis, more and more counters to Regis continues to go. So I would say Regis would be probably at the front of B tier, just because it's still a good deck. We have Collapse Stadium, we have Temple of Sinnoh, we have so many counters to Regis to make sure it can't get what it needs to get going. Wheezing Sneasler, whatever this is. This deck just seems absolutely horrible. So, I don't even really need to talk about this one. This one's just terrible. So, it's going in D tier. Probably going to be the worst card on deck on here. Arceus, Giratina. I don't think that's going to do very good. If you're going to play Giratina, just play Giratina. Like, come on. I've kind of always expressed this. If you're going to play Arceus decks, you're only going to be attacking with Arceus, like, all the time. So, it's just not worth it to play another card. Again, with this synergy sort of thing, you're just going to be attacking with Arceus 90% of the time. So, I wouldn't say that it's going to be really that good of a deck. Rapid Strike with Radiant Blastoise. Rapid Strike's kind of coming, it's like in and out of the format. Manaphy is still a thing, so I put it at the end of B tier. Arceus Flying Pikachu. Definitely good against the Zoroark Lunatone matchup. I might put that around here. I would say it's better than Pokia, Kirim, and Ice Rider, but it's not better than that sort of stuff. But it definitely is favorable in the Zoroark Lunatone matchup, but there are still a whole bunch of counters to the deck. Dialga, I definitely think Dialga is going to get a lot better as time goes on, as we find more builds. So I would arguably say Dialga is kind of in the middle of A. So Dialga definitely still has potential as a turbo deck. Zacian V-Star, I believe it doesn't even do that much damage. It's a worse Zacian V from Sword and Shield, so I would say probably the end of C tier. Just not worth it to evolve into a V-Star for no reason. Radiant Charizard box. I'd arguably put Radiant Charizard box kind of here. And I might even put Rapid Strike here, just because those sort of counter boxes seem to be okay in the format right now. Yeah, but with the meta changing all the time, and with Giratina having no weakness, it could get harder for counter boxes. Zeraora, not worth it to play, but definitely someone could figure it out. So, Zoroark box, I would arguably put at the kind of towards the end of B. Once again, it's still a good deck, but it can easily be targeted, so it might not be as good as you think. Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark is a big threat to the metagame here, so I would definitely put it in the middle of S tier, because it has potential. It does have a few drawbacks to it. It has a few flaws with how Gengars can easily be sniped here by Radiant Greninja. You could play like Manaphy or whatever, but still, I think that Zoroark might actually, it could probably be at the end of S tier, only because it can be kind of, if it doesn't get set up, it's done for. There's nothing you can do about it. You get one V-Star power to try and get set up again, but you could be too late by the time Pokia or Mew or something else gets going. So, I would definitely say it's a great deck. It does a ton of damage, but I would not say that it is better than the decks before it. Hisui and Decidueye box, I guess. I don't even know what this is, really, but I would say it's probably towards the end of B tier. No one's really gonna play Ice Rider or Frostlass. I've never really seen Frostlass be played before, so I wouldn't play that. Whatever this Arceus counterbox is with Magnet Zone or whatever, definitely has a chance, but not something I really think is going to be that great. Arceus Gyarados. I would definitely say Arceus Gyarados has potential until Jolteon and kind of all that stuff rotates, Memory Capsule. So I would arguably put it there in kind of the middle-ish, because getting rid of Inteleon engines is really good, and it's a pretty good and consistent deck, because you'll actually be attacking with Gyarados. Darkrai, if you can get Darkrai set up, it's super good, but the problem is that Darkrai can't get set up sometimes. I've had that problem a lot with my Turbo Darkrai deck, so I would put it at the end of A, and then Blissey Miltank, probably put it right after Mewtwo V Union, once again because it can get countered, it can get one-hit KO'd, kind of no matter what you do. But yeah, that is my Lost Origin tier list here. I definitely think Giratina is going to be the best deck in format, just because of its attacks, and if it can get going, there's no way you can stop it, really. So, yeah, let me know if you would change anything about this. I know I might have some controversial opinions about it, but let me know what you think about this. If you want to see more content like this on the channel, make sure to let me know in the comments as well. Liking and subscribing really helps support the channel. I appreciate all the growth we've gotten over the past few weeks here. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. God bless, and have fun.